Thank you, ma'am.
something to some extent you understood Haskell, and you are now prepared, ready to go ahead with the chapter, and you'll find it easy now. So thank you all for your patient listening.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for providing us with a very good basis to begin with, and that is going to be helpful to everybody, I guess. Uh, can I stop your sharing screen, ma'am? Yeah, thank you. I won't take much time of yours because it's already late, I guess. I had shown you these slides yesterday, and in those slides, I had mentioned about we will be discussing about how you can use the Docker image for taking the practical session. I had already shared this particular command with you on the Google on the WhatsApp group. Sorry, and uh, I would like to know whether anybody actually tried it, pulling that particular thing. May I know? Okay, okay. It seems that most of you are using Windows, so you did not uh, want to install it, but it is okay. Yeah, the Docker is there for Windows as well, so you can use Docker Desktop for making you aware of how you can use this particular thing in for conducting the practicals. I have some ideas. I'll very briefly tell you what I believe you could use this container for. So you can share the container with the students. If you do this, you will require to guide them how to use on the how to use the container on their local machine. Then once they understand how to use, they can create their local copy to do ample amount of practice of whatever lab sessions you are conducting. Since mostly this semester we are going to uh, have labs in remote mode only, so this could be a helpful thing for students wherein they need not invest time in installing it on the day one. They may learn how to install, but then on the day one they might not require to learn installing all the stuff like say jdk, gcc, g++, or haskell compiler. So all things have been bundled into a single container, which will be helpful to you to conduct the lab. If you do not want to do this, that is, you do not want to burden the students, you can actually keep the docker image on. It's not cocker, it's docker. Sorry, I'm really sorry for the mistake. You can keep the docker image running on an SSHable machine in lab, or maybe on some sort of a uh, cloud server, if it is possible in your college scenario. You can create users on that particular machine, the host machine on which the docker is running, and you can ask students to take turns on the docker to access it. You can ask say 5 or 6 students as a group to access it for some time, and then you can actually have tons of students to access it and practice their codes. The problem with Docker is that whatever the code student is coding while the Docker container is running, it doesn't last. So you need to make sure that students understand how the work that they are going to do should be backed up on the host machine. So you can have file system on the host machine on which the Docker is running, the SSHable machine. You can have folder structure made there for student work directories to be stored, and you can fetch those directories into the running container. It will be merely, I guess, copy paste, and then the students can run. So these are some ideas. It's not a thing that should be only tried. You can have your own other ideas as well, and there will be lots of other ideas you can also get. So actually, yesterday the last session was about to. I wanted to discuss about certain ideas like these, whereas some of the faculty members also suggested me that for assessment purpose you can use virtual practical lab or VPL, but for that you need somebody to configure it, or you may require Moodle like learning management system wherein you can integrate that virtual programming lab into the learning management system. So that involves certain work. This container I have already created, and I had uh, recorded a short video of half an hour duration, which I've shared with you on the WhatsApp group. I would urge you to listen to that video, and maybe please come up with your doubts, comments, or you want to improve it somehow. That can also be done. So currently, I have not shared anything inside the Docker, but you can always have certain things placed in some Git repository, and while the Docker image is created, we can pull those things to the Docker container by altering the Docker file. Somebody suggested me yesterday that I have not discussed about how to install Haskell in Linux environment. It's not a very difficult thing to do. If you are using Debian based operating system, you just need to install Haskell-platform onto your Debian system. If you're using Ubuntu, the command is apt-get install and Haskell-platform. That is Haskell-platform. That is the command that you would want to execute. Now, before I stop, I'm hurrying into, because it's been a long time since you have been listening to us, and I've not taken any break in between. Also, that is why you might be tired. That is why I'm not uh, showing you all the details as such, but I've recorded all those things and I've given you the access to that particular recording. So do watch it, and if you want to use Docker and you are struggling or you are having some problem, you can always discuss through the email ID or the group that we have established. We will come up within 1 or 2 days with the e-content development that we had planned. Some of you have already shown their interest in contributing towards the content development. If we develop e-content, it's going to helpful for all of us, because this is a first time subject for everybody, and there is no proper resource material available. So if we develop certain lab manual, as well as maybe set of booklet kind of a thing, wherein all the kind of theory material also is accumulated at one place, that would be a very great resource for everybody, even including all the paper setters as well. So we will exactly know when we contribute, when everybody from the university contributes, we'll exactly know how the actual carrying out of the syllabus takes place, because we know definitely there is a laid down syllabus, and when you actually carry out the syllabus, there are certain minor differences that happen, and because of which, when the somebody sets the question paper, there is always a gap in that particular thing. So if we develop e-content for all of us, then there will be some degree of uniformity in what we teach and how we teach, and we can actually have a I can say a repository to resort to whenever we want to actually find out some sort of an evaluation of the students. I guess this was it. I'm not going to go further, but I keep this particular session open for your views on anything that we missed so far in 2 days, or maybe we missed in the FOP that you want to discuss. Few of the things that you suggested about the codes that are discussed in yesterday's material, the slides, and the course discussed today, all are going to be shared with you. We are actually build I am actually building a drive folder wherein I'm keeping all these things. Currently I'm categorizing things, that is why it is taking some time, and everybody is busy in a lot of things. Everybody amongst us is busy in a lot of things, that is why it is taking a bit of time. So give me 1 or 2 days for completing this task. Once it is complete, I'll release the drive for you to access. That drive will also keep the resource materials like the ebooks and all. I would request you all to contribute towards any ebooks you have or any material you have that you feel like to be contributed towards all the faculty members of the university. So I'll wait for 1 or 2 days to things to pour into the drive, and then I'll release that particular drive with everybody. I hope these 3 days that we have sessions on are going to help you in conducting this session. It was never a attempt to cover entire thing, because in covering entire thing would require a lot of other things to do. We will be definitely posting one more recorded sample video on the sixth module of the practical session. It was supposed to be conducted today, but due to some reasons, I could not complete that set of example, wherein I would actually show you what exactly we mean by doing a programming assignment, and if you have certain ideas about it. So before we close, I would actually like to share one site with you. I'll be sharing that through chat box, wherein you'll get lot of small examples, coding examples, based on which, so we discussed a few examples here within these 2 days for Prolog as well as for Haskell. Here, the Wikipedia site that I've shared you, the Rosetta Code. This is a repository of problem solutions of lot of, many of you might know already this, and this was there in one of the slides under sixth module on first day of the orientation. So here you will get same problem solved using various programming languages. So you can decide upon the experiments that you're going to plan on the programming assignments, these module 6, using this particular using the examples that are there in this particular slides, depending on what sort of students you have in your class, what is their capability of coding, and that should be the major focus, I guess, because there the students are going to learn a lot of things in this semester. And if for at least for this iteration, for this particular year, wherein we are going to have students learn everything in remote mode, it is going to be difficult for student to cope up learning everything. So this semester at least, or this iteration of the course at least, I believe we should keep it simple, as simple as possible. And that is but it should also cover the point that has been mentioned, that students should be able to understand or make out the differences between different paradigms, that is imperative or functional or maybe object oriented, maybe declarative paradigms, between Prolog as well as between Haskell, how they differ from each other. These things, subtlety should be somehow students should understand. That is the whole idea. So while choosing the examples, the size of the example doesn't matter. The example which suitable for one paradigm, or which is easy to code in one paradigm but difficult to code in other, maybe you can choose, or you can have your choice on that particular basis. Or maybe some code that is that can easily be solved in multiple paradigms, this could also be one of the choice. Okay. So I will keep the session open for 5 more minutes of, if anyone amongst you want to actually uh, say his or her ideas. This session is open. Yes. Anybody wants to share anything? Or I guess everybody is already exhausted. Oh, everybody's saying thank you so much. Okay, so as a formality, so I'll give you a minute to reciprocate. So we started off by with 50 people on FOP. Yesterday there were around 30 odd people. Today, 25 people are there. So we have actually kept you interested. That's important, I guess, from our side. Okay, then I guess we are pretty exhausted. All it seems everybody is pretty exhausted already. But your suggestions are always welcome, and possibly you can give your suggestion through the WhatsApp group. Also, there would be certain difficulties or problems, and if those problems are there, definitely we will all try to solve those problems. We'll all try to help everybody else to solve that problem, because this subject is new to everybody, including the syllabus team as well. We tried to do our level best to give you this thing. So before concluding, I would like to thank my college for providing the platform for conducting this particular workshop, especially to my head of the department, Professor Jitendra Patil sir, who helped me a lot in taking many decisions regarding what platform to choose, how to choose, what to do. Then I would like to thank my college principal, Dr. Madhukar J. Lengre,